Hi, this is your tutorial for the introduction to syllable types. This is a little different than a lot of our other materials. This one is actually an instructional slideshow like you might um, use in a class. So the idea here is you have a little bit of direction to teach children that there are 6 syllable types, and that the syllable types can be used to help them figure out how to pronounce words. And we have set these up so that they could be spread out over many lessons, or for kids who have been exposed to this content before but might need a review, you could do all of this in one lesson. There are syllable word cards in a separate set of slides that you can use for practice. We have a few word cards included in this. So the idea here is that you take students through learning what they need to know in order to use syllables to help them to decode words. So the first thing that they'll need to know is what's a vowel. Now, when I'm doing this with students, I'm going to hide this a little bit so it's not distracting. I'm going to talk about what's a vowel. A vowel is a sound made by sending air out of the mouth without closing your mouth or moving the parts of your mouth. So the idea is that your mouth might be wide open, open a little bit, a medium amount, or just a tiny bit, depending on what vowel sound you're making. And you might get students to try to figure out what sound this might be. More of an ah, this might be an e, and this might be an ooh, but they'll probably get pretty close just by looking at the lips. Then you can talk a little bit more about the idea that a vowel is voiced, and have students hold their throat while they say each of the sounds. You can do the short vowel sounds, a, I, or the long vowel sounds, which are really just about the vowels names, A, E, I, O. And then U, a long U we can say says U, or it can say oo. Then we talk about what a consonant is. A consonant is when two parts of your mouth come together to close off the air somewhat. You're using your lips, your tongue, and your teeth. So this could be a b, for example. This might be a sh, and this is probably a f sound. So um, consonants can be voiced or unvoiced. So you might get them to pronounce the different sounds to think about. Is it voiced like or unvoiced like s? So do you feel vibration when you hold your throat or not? Then that might be enough for one lesson. But if your kids are ready, you can keep going and talk about what is a syllable. And a syllable is a word or a part of a word with one vowel sound. So you can demonstrate and show your face on the video to demonstrate that your chin will usually drop as you say each syllable in a word. That's one way for counting syllables. So there are some pictures here, and you can get the students to say the words and hold their hand under their chin. When you say robot, how many times did your chin drop? When you say octopus, how many times does your chin drop? So that's one way of thinking about and counting syllables. Again, you can stop right there, or you can keep going and talking about types of syllables. So I usually like to teach open and closed syllables together because it helps kids understand the concept if they can also think about the contrast between them. So a closed syllable has only one vowel in it, and the vowel is always followed by at least one consonant. Here's one with one consonant, here's one with two consonants. And the vowel sound in a closed syllable is short. So we'll sound out these words to demonstrate that hop, kick, and fast all have short vowel sounds, and they're closed syllables. And then we can demonstrate with open syllables. Open syllables also have just one vowel, but the vowel is the last letter in the syllable. The vowel sound is long, so we can demonstrate that hi, go, and she all have long vowel sounds, and they're open syllables. And then to teach a little bit about the contrast, we have these boxes. So high is an open syllable, and you can see that the box is open. If I come over here and close this box by sliding the M over, then it changes the vowel sound because it's now a closed syllable, and closed syllables have a short vowel sound. So I'm gone from high to him. And this idea is very nicely illustrated by this particular technique. So here's another one. You go from go. What's the short vowel sound that I'm going to have? Ah. When I close it, it becomes got. And the favorite of most kids, we go from she to shed. All kids have heard of a she shed, so they have fun with that one. So once we've taught open and closed syllables, we can help them read some two-syllable words that have open and closed syllables. So napkin has just two closed syllables, veto, and we can talk about each one with the kids. We can use the blue squares to uncover. Let's sound out this part, insect. And we can read all of these or just a few of these, whatever makes sense for your students at the time of their lesson. The slide deck goes on. Usually you're going to break it up. And so the next type of syllable would be probably in a new lesson. Open, closed, and final stable syllables are the ones that I feel like really need to be taught specifically because they are very useful and they haven't already learned those things. So the other types of syllables that we come to, I find that most kids have already learned how to decode those syllable types by practicing them with one-syllable words. And so it's just introducing the idea that this pattern that they've learned is a syllable type. But open and closed and final stable, they probably haven't talked about them that way in decoding one-syllable words. They just learned how to decode open and closed. And final stable is something that only happens in multisyllabic words, so they probably haven't been exposed to this yet. A final stable syllable is, those are the types of syllables that come at the end of a word, always pronounced the same way. We have a really common final stable pattern, that's the consonant LE pattern, that is pronounced with the sound of that consonant and then it ul, gul, bull, 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 zul. And so we can decode the first part, and the second part's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy final stable syllable. There are a lot of other final stable syllables that are a lot more complicated. Nation, the TION, session, SION, CIAN, TURE. There's a bunch of different ones, and these aren't all of them. But any of these types of endings for words that are always pronounced pretty much the same way could be considered a final stable syllable. And so they're easier to learn as a unit because it doesn't make much sense for most kids that a TION would be pronounced shun. But if they learn it as a unit, TION is shun, then it makes it a little bit easier to remember. The other syllable types, there are three other ones, are controlled, vowel consonant E, and vowel team. So if you've taught graphemes in a logical sequence, you've probably already covered these before you get to two-syllable words. So you can talk to kids about the fact that they've already learned how to read little words with these patterns, and here's some examples. And then this takes them into reading a little bit longer words that have those same patterns. And so this is really empowering for kids to see that, wow, I know how to read these small words, these small parts of words. So if I put them together, I can read a pretty big word. The slides then go into each one of those three syllable types in a little bit more depth, gives them some of the rules that identify the syllables, and then gives them some more example words. And so you would just go over those. And again, each one of these might be one part of one lesson. And you would do R controlled one day, vowel consonant E another day. Vowel team is the last one. And vowel team syllables, there are 3 different types of vowel teams. Vowel digraphs are the simplest ones. Diphthongs are a little bit trickier, and then there are vowel teams with consonant letters that most kids find the trickiest. So each one of those has some examples for you to go over. And they all have at least one 2-syllable example to show. And you see the vowel teams with consonant letters, why those might be tricky. So generally the vowel letters are GH, but even some of the simpler vowel teams like OW has a consonant letter in it to make that vowel team. So at the end of this particular slide deck, you have some words for multisyllabic word practice. So the first slide here has all of the words that were on the other slide as examples, but they are just mixed up. So these are all words that you can practice, and you can use the blue boxes to uncover the words as you go. And then the next slide has some more 2-syllable words that follow the same patterns, but these are words that were not in the slideshow before. So it's generalizing to new words instead of practicing words they've already learned. So there you go. That's the introduction to syllable types. You can break this up however it makes sense for your kids based on how much information about these concepts they already have. This could end up being a month of lessons if you wanted to break it down and practice each syllable type in a little bit more detail. Or if it's review, you might do this whole slide deck in one day. It just depends on your students and what you know about what they know. Well, there you go. Syllable types. Enjoy.